Dalton, do you know why today is a great day?
I would like for you to tell me.
Because it is Wednesday and it's content day for the Bearded Man when we drop nukes on the content world of podcasting.
I love it.
And now we're sitting down today.
It's a great day.
Are you pumped?
I'm pumped, yeah.
I'll give you credit before we get into it. This is all to you. This is your idea. You wanted to create some content, some little podcast thing. So we're doing it today in the Purpose in the Youth studio.
We are.
So what is your intention going into this before we even get into the questions?
Well, my goal is to create more content for my YouTube channel, my following.
Oh, so it's about you.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but
so it's about Dalton
today. But you have, so much knowledge, and you've sat down with, hundreds of people who are very successful, and I think you have a lot of knowledge to share. So my goal is to just kind of facilitate that and share, any knowledge that we have together or any conversations we have together with people, and hope that it helps them.
I'm very interested to see the types of questions you got.
Yeah.
Because we posted on the Instagram story, and I didn't even want to know the questions because I think I'm just big on, I want to be in the moment. I don't want to overthink something. And obviously we're just going to go back and forth, and we're essentially just going to go with the flow.
Yeah.
But I'm very curious to see what people had to ask.
We had a lot of good questions, and a lot of diverse ones. I don't think anyone asked the same question twice.
That's dope.
So
how many entries did you get?
We actually got 10, which is exactly what we were going for.
All right, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. We got 10 people that care about
11,
it. Let's go.
11 including YouTube, yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, come on, guys. That was a little disappointing.
We'll take it, though.
Yeah, so do you want me to just get right into the questions?
Whatever you want to start with.
Okay, so let's see. I'll start with a question that I think that you would answer best. So number 3 here that I have, I'm going to skip around, is we had someone ask, how did you and I meet? And how did we create the My Story video? What was our editing process like? What was the storytelling process like? And how did that all come together?
Yeah, I think you could explain the how we met part, and then I can explain kind of.
Yeah, we met through Instagram DM.
The DM, baby.
Down
in the DM.
Yeah. We met in the DMs, and I was out here with my friend John for a video, and we had an extra day, so I hit Bobby up, and I was like, what can we do? I'm creating visuals out here. You're creating fire podcast content. So, is there anything you need? And you had wanted to kind of tell your story and have something that would live on your website, YouTube, whatever, that people landed there, boom, they'd watch it. It's a minute long, and they'd know who you are.
Yeah.
So that's basically how that worked out. I think we had talked. We've been talking for a while before.
Yeah, just
that
briefly,
actually happened.
Yeah, briefly, and then it was more of. See, this is the thing now on my side of it, which I love because I respect you. What you were really good at was seeing an opportunity okay, I could give value to somebody, me, but you also recognize what I was doing on the side and realize, okay, if I create something for this guy and it's valuable to him and he shares it out, there's potential that I could get love from it. And I don't think we could have executed that project any better because it worked out great, and now you're living at the content crib for literally the last month. So I get these DMs here and there from time to time, and people always throw out I'm going to be in LA, let's work. And I love that. It's dope that people are reaching out and want to work.
Right.
But it's more about, do you have a vision for something that you want to create? I don't want to just draw up the idea and then you're not really passionate about it and it's a waste of time. But yeah, that was great timing. I looked into your work, saw everything that you were doing, and I was like, what do I actually need? I feel like I'm in a position where with the podcast, it's pretty consistent. Obviously one day I want to get bigger visuals, but I was like, what do I need? And the YouTube, the intro video that you go onto people's channels, I never had an official one. I've always had just my documentary type stuff. And so that's when I brought up, maybe we could do a YouTube trailer type thing. And I've just realized that I can get into the flow of what do I want people to feel when they click into something. So I can't visually put something together. And that's why I appreciate and respect people so much like yourself that are so good at really sitting down and making these amazing visuals and making everything come to life. But to me, it was just about writing out that whole, I want people to get a feel for who I am. They see a lot of the podcasting content. They see the Instagram stories of me shredding the Uber streets, but they don't know really who Bobby Hobert is,
Right.
where he's from, where like the family he was raised by. So I literally that project couldn't have gone any better. Like everybody, it was a win-win-win for me, you, and John. I got what I needed, a great piece of content. I think you guys got a lot of love in the sense of people that were going off like, yo, this is crazy. That's a direct compliment to you because as much as, like I'll take a little bit of credit of like having to craft, you know, a script and write and, you know, and say that out loud. But if it wasn't visually executed correctly, it would have been a great script, but it wouldn't have been brought into life. So, I mean, you and John fucking crushed that.
Yeah, it was like a great team effort. The fact that you had written up a script and fired that our way that took a lot of like pressure off our shoulders because it's like, how do we tell your story when we don't even know you that well?
Yeah.
So,
and last thing I want to say, what fired me up was the next day when I finally met you guys. We had a quick call the night before just to like we were on it was gonna be like 2 hours we had to shoot, and we just wanted to touch base and be like, all right, these were the like ideas that you guys had. And I'll never forget the next day when I met you guys within like an hour, not even an hour, probably within the first 10 minutes of us meeting, you're like, after we got off the phone last night, we looked at each other like, oh, this guy's the same. Like, he is who he is. He's not, he isn't like this facade or he's not trying to be somebody he's not. And that was like one of the biggest compliments I could get or I've ever gotten because it's like, I'm literally the same person. Like, there's a little bit of a extra energy when the cameras are rolling, the mic's on because I'm in the zone. But when all this shit goes away, it's the same. Yeah. It's the same shit, man. Yeah. It's the same shit.
You're a psycho to live with.
100%. Always going.
All right, so I guess if we're gonna choose a question that kind of relates to me, one of the first ones here is basically like, well, actually, we'll do one that John asked. So John helped create the video with me for Bobby, and he wanted to know kind of my experience playing college soccer and why. He said why I quit, but it was because I dropped out of school. But kind of explaining that process, which is cool because I don't ever talk about that. So. Soccer was my life from like 10 to 19 and played year round. That was all I did. And I was in a new state every weekend for a game, just traveling all the time.
Midwest boys. Midwest boys.
Yeah, you know.
Sure, you got to throw out the hometown.
Yeah.
Who are you repping right now? Where are you from?
Northeast Indiana. It's a small town in LaGrange County. So, it's super small. Yeah. But, anyways, my dream was to play college soccer forever. And I knew that I would never go D1 probably. A lot of that was just because you have to be a monster physically to do that. And I just, very average. So, anyways, I ended up getting a scholarship to play at an NAIA school in Fort Wayne, Indiana, the University of St. Francis, which was great. That was like my dream. Went there. That was my life, soccer every single day. And, it was great. But then as I kind of realized school wasn't for me, I, did quick math and realized the number I'd be paying when I got out. And even with that scholarship, and it just didn't make sense for me to be there. So it was actually harder, I think, it was more scary walking into my coach's office than it was to tell my parents I was dropping out of school, like, because he's paying me to be there basically. Yeah. And he had recruited me and I'd spent every single day with him for the past year. Like, walking into his office and, sitting down with him and being like, hey, I'm dropping out of school. And obviously that means I'm quitting the team. Was super hard because I'm not a quitter. My parents have always been like, if you're going to start a sport, even if it was like like baseball, like I never was super into baseball, but I did it. They're like, you're going to start the season and you're going to finish it. If you
sign up for it, you have to follow through with it.
Yes. Because it's just like disrespectful to everyone who's put time and energy into you. So, that was hard, but it was nice because I finished the season out. We were just in the off season. Like, I don't even think we were having practice at this point. Cause it was the winter. So, walking in there was scary, but, and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do because it's like, how do you walk away from something that's been your life for the past, almost 10 years and it's all you've known. And, it was the reason why I woke up every morning and, it was very scary walking into like unknown waters, I guess. But
you had a direction, like walking in, like I'm quitting this team and I'm quitting school because I'm going to redirect and put all my time into video. It wasn't like you just quit, went home, sat on your ass and wasn't doing anything. But you had some idea as to what you wanted to do.
Right. And it was good too that I think that I was very naive to like the real world because if I knew how hard it was, I think I would have been way more hesitant to drop out of school and quit the team.
It's
But
kind of this mystery of the
yeah,
unknown.
it was good that I didn't really know what it would be like. So yeah, that was hard, but things have been great, and I miss it. I think a lot. Like but I still talk to my teammates. I still talk to my friends there, and I hope to like once I get settled out here in LA, hope to like get in a rec league or pick it back up for fun.
Have you regretted it?
No,
Yeah.
never. And it's like I was very self-aware. Like it was gonna be the next 4 years, and then like I'm done. I'm not gonna go pro. I'm not gonna like. So it also felt I got to a point where I was like mature enough to understand that it was almost a waste of time in a way. Like it taught me good lessons. I think like a lot of discipline in college. I don't even think I went to one. I might have been to one party ever, and it was like I just didn't have time or.
Yeah,
it
being an
kept me
athlete, you're
dedicated,
busy all the time.
Yeah.
And then you're working on your camera on the side, probably. So it's like you really don't have any time.
Yeah. So that was good. It taught me a lot of good lessons. But no, I've never regretted it.
You see, it's interesting because I'm on the flip side where my sophomore year I wasn't even thinking about dropping out because to me it was buying me time. You're saying it's wasting you time because you kind of had an idea of what you wanted to do next, whereas I was like, this is only giving me more time to figure it out. So it's just interesting hearing the different perspectives because I for sure was just milking. I still got 2 more years to go, still got a year. This is the last finale. Now I really got to figure it out, whereas it makes more sense for you to leave school. Now, did it cost me a lot of extra money because I stayed through it? Of course it did, but I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I'll find a way to pay off the debt. So
100%.
It's so interesting because I think obviously conversations like this, podcasting, YouTube, the social media world is helping not just creators, but people that are interested in layering or interested in hearing about the stories and literally why Purpose in the Youth came about, just to hear like what people have gone through. And so it's just super interesting to hear kind of the perspective of like, I'm wasting time where I was like, I'm buying myself time.
Right. And that's where I think you probably had a better understanding of what the real world would be like. And that's what kind of kept me from wanting to buy time because I didn't really, but it's all good
ready.
now.
You were just ready for
I was just ready and but yeah. So
shout out to John.
Yeah. Shout out John. That was a good question.
Big content guy.
Yeah. Go give him a follow. I'll, in the video, I'll pop up his at. So give him a follow.
Fire.
But, all right, so this next question here definitely pertains to you. I think that you're good at this. So, we had someone ask. Now I gotta find the question. I lost it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right here. Here we go. So, how to overcome distractions and stay productive / focused.
Sheesh.
Focus is your middle name.
Yeah, Focus is my middle name. I mean, honestly, I just think people have to. For me, I think I'm very fortunate that I'm just very good at discipline. So I'm so disciplined on myself that there is no other option. I think when it comes to how do you get focused, it's being honest with yourself. And if you have to write it down, if you have to visually print it on your wall, like what do you want to do? I mean, it's as simple as that. It actually, I can't even believe we're talking about it because to me, there's like no other option. It's like, I know what I want. So I just go all in and I punt everything that doesn't help me get to where that is. And if it's pulling me away, then I'm not going to do it. So I think it's just having a clear vision for what you want and being realistic about what it's going to take to get there. There was actually, when I was doing the research for Zach Kravitz, it's a podcast coming up. He just had this new video he put out about entrepreneurship and like people see like the glitz and glamour. And I'm not saying you have to be somebody that wants to be an entrepreneur, but it's like, there's so much shit that you have to sacrifice to make this happen. Like I'm not even making a living off of doing this yet. And the amount of sacrifices I've made in 3 years is unbelievable. Like I have no regrets, but I'm just very honest with myself about what I want. And so I think the best thing that anybody else could do is figure out what exactly do you want and being realistic about what it's going to take to get there. Mm-hmm. I knew that from starting from scratch, not being a creative to growing a brand, it's going to take a lot of work. Whereas maybe you're somebody who's already in the process and you're just trying to level up that next thing. I mean, it's going to take a little bit more work, but I always look at it as like what I'm trying to accomplish in 4 years, I think would take normally maybe 7 or 8 years. So, everybody has different backgrounds, different goals, different intentions, different wants, needs, desires. You just have to be real with yourself about what you want. And if it's if it's something you really, really want, you're going to find a way to make the sacrifices. And if you don't, then don't complain about the results. Like if you're going out every Friday and Saturday and not utilizing that time to work on your craft or network, so be it. I mean, I went and did that for a long time. I screwed around for a long time. I wasted a lot of money doing dumb shit. I don't regret it. But then when I woke up one day after I graduated and realized I know exactly what I want, I want to create a podcast, I want to build this thing to an empire, I literally have to go all in. And so, I mean, that's my take on how do you stay focused.
There's no other option. Like
there is no other option. My whole thing is my back is against the wall, and the only direction I can move is forward. I can pivot to the left, I can pivot to the right, but I have to keep moving forward. That's like the thing that I live by. Just keep moving forward.
I would like to hear, I know the answer to this, but I think that it'd be interesting for you to talk about what is your, maybe from like when you wake up to maybe like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, like
cooked.
Quickly, what does that look, because that's literally the definition of being focused and like,
so my whole thing about winning the morning, you win the day, that is priming me for the day. And that's what helps me get super focused. You know, I'm very fortunate in the sense of like, I drive Uber, so I get to create my own schedule. Amazing. Anybody else can do it too, so don't think that like I'm some lucky guy that pulled the golden ticket. You can do it too. But I've figured out this system of like I prime myself in the beginning of the day, which helps me stay focused for the rest of the day. So I wake up at 6 a.m. I get to the gym by 6:30. I work out. I go to the sauna. I maybe do some cardio. I come back. I have a shake. I read. And by the time all that is said and done, I wake up at 6 and I'm literally sitting down to work at around 9:30, 10. And so I've been up for 3.5 hours. My mind has stimulated. I haven't been checking social media. I haven't been answering emails. I haven't been taking phone calls, looking at messages. I've just let my mind just brew of thoughts and ideas and of inspiration. And so that by the time I sit down, I've already thought about what I need to get done that day. So, okay, now it's time to go. Put the phone down, go all in. And always kind of keep in the back of my mind of like, I want to try to get enough work done so that by 2, 3 p.m. I can go drive Uber. So I think that's the other thing too. It's like, even in the times when it sucks, you're not making a living doing what you want. You got a shit ton of bills. You're essentially living paycheck to paycheck with some wiggle room. You don't know exactly what the next step is. You don't have the perfect blueprint. The amazing thing is that there's a fire under my ass at all times. So it's really easy for me to get focused because I go, I have literally 2 hours and then I need to leave because I have to pay these bills. Mm-hmm. So I think having that discipline of like the morning schedule primes me for the day, but then also kind of going back to like, just like being so hyper focused is like, I don't have time to waste.
Yeah.
The clock is ticking. Yeah. So that helps. I think that helps people get focused when you timestamp things where, sometimes it's taking me 2 to 3 hours to do research for a podcast, whereas I'm going all in for an hour and I get the same amount of work done. So,
and you, a big thing that you brushed over is you don't usually read any messages on your phone, right? Until
I think I slightly said that, but
I
brushed over. Yeah.
That's a huge thing.
Yeah, I even see it in the gym in the morning with some of the people that are working out. They're just like in between sets. I actually thought about it today. I know you didn't make it to the gym with me. I'm so disappointed. Yeah. But walking out of the sauna, there was a guy sitting next to me and he's just sitting there just watching some video. And I kind of cringed because I'm just like, I love content. I love social media. That's literally the world I'm trying to get into. But the problem is people have to find that balance of giving themselves time to just think, to not be distracted by social media and by everything that's happening in the world and just think. And that is literally the first 3.5 hours of my day. I don't if I see I have a text in the morning from like my mother or a family member, like I will read that and make sure everything's good. But if it's business related or anything outside of that, I don't read it because it can always wait. There's always time. There's always more time to get things done. And we sometimes feel like I got to answer that text. I got to answer that email. It's fine. It's not going to the world's not going to end. Just let it be at ease,
And I found that because I'm definitely in that habit. I'm getting out of it, but of checking, just reading what's on my notification screen right when I wake up.
Don't.
And I know. And because what happens is I wake up and I go to the gym and it's someone wants me to do something, and I'm just like, I have this anxiety because I'm just like, I need to get that. It like bothers me. So
I told you this morning I had a notification because I had to fix an error in the podcast, and it gave me anxiety because I quickly fixed it before I went to the gym, but I like after I fixed it and I was walking out, I was like, this is why I don't check. That was one instance where I'm glad I checked the notification. Yeah. But that was one instance of why I don't want to start the day off within 8 minutes. I'm already getting anxious about work I have to get done. And so I think it's the best thing you can do is you got to find that time that is your time and you own it for the day. Yep. But everyone's different. You know what I mean? Like everyone's schedule's different. Yeah, totally. I'm very fortunate that I can do this every morning. But that's just how I've structured my life. That's why I work till 11 p.m.
Yeah.
So.
While I get this next question, do you want to see what time we're at for the camera? Cool. 5 minutes. Cool.
We got a little timer because we have a high quality camera shooting and not my little stinky GoPro. Yeah,
Sony, you need to look into why do your camera shut off after 30 minutes of recording?
There's a legal reason. It's only for cameras. So if you buy a video camera, you can run that thing for 3 hours.
Like a camcorder type thing.
Yeah, you can run that for 3-4 hours until it dies. But for whatever reason, there is a legal limit. It's literally a law.
Okay then. My apologies, Sony.
I
take that back.
It's canon. It's every. We can talk about that off camera. I went and did some crazy research, but it's literally a law.
Because it's so annoying.
It's a law.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's ways to beat it, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, okay. So let's see here. So the next question, I guess I'll kind of like shoot out something that was directed at me. So we had a question, what do you wish people starting out with videography knew that I didn't know whenever I was first starting? I think this kind of goes back to the very first point we were talking about where I think I wish I would have known how hard it is first of all, how expensive it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that I just got insurance like a few months ago on my gear, and it totaled to like, and I have a very, very like basic
beginner brief.
Yeah. Like professional, but low level professional gear. And it was like, it valued at like $12,000. And it's just like, and obviously I've like built that up over a few years, and like it wasn't all at once, but like, I wish I would have known how expensive it was. And, I'm getting to a point where I need to like think about upgrading cameras, and like, just because, once you start working with higher quality, like productions,
you got to keep going up.
There is a difference. Yeah. Like there's that marginal difference that people notice though. So, I wish I would have known how expensive it is. And I think I wish I would have known how much time it would have taken I'm still learning every single day. There's still so much I don't know. But like I said, I think there's beauty. There was beauty in me not being oblivious to all of this, because it probably would have scared me away.
Yeah.
And now I've kind of like checked myself. I'm glad I got to where I am, but I'm like, I think I'm getting better at not being so reckless and just like, oh, I can take my camera out and make, buy new stuff and like make whatever, and people are gonna pay me.
Yeah.
I'm becoming more focused, I think, on like, and smart with like, realistically, do I need a new camera? No. I'm probably going to wait at least 6 months to a year before I do that.
Yeah.
Do I want one, and would it make a difference in my work? Yes, slightly, but like, it's
not enough where it's going to make a difference.
And no one has ever, the day that someone says I can't, or questions it, or says I can't do a shoot because of that, I will get a new camera. But that has yet to happen. And I've been on some very, high quality, worked with very like prestigious people and done some high quality content, and never been a question.
Yeah.
So, I think when that day comes, that's, when I pull the trigger.
How much has your creative flow changed? Because I bet in the beginning you probably were overthinking everything, to now I feel like you're, just from the little bit of work we've done, you don't really overthink. You kind of just flow, and you just make the best of.
I think my confidence has grown. Yeah. For sure. That's like the thing is like, I know I can execute. I know what I can execute, and I know what I can't.
Yeah.
And it's like, when we brew up an idea, even if I like don't know exactly what that's going to look like in like the editing process, let's say, but like I know it's feasible.
What was the thing you said the other day?
Oh, I said, I don't remember the exact way I worded it, but it was something like, I found a lot of growth after I decided to think of an idea and then figure out how to execute it later, versus like thinking of ideas and how to execute them in the same thought.
Yeah.
So I try to separate those, because 9 times out of 10, even if you have to outsource work, you can make your idea come to life. And
Yeah.
and it's I was finding it was hindering my creativity whenever I was like immediately just like, oh, well, that's gonna cost money, or I'm gonna have to like find someone who can do crazy graphics to make this happen,
Yeah.
So but
The how we're gonna do it is what I think throws people off, because you're just like trying to think everything out and try to master that blueprint where it's just go do it and figure it out as you go.
And that's come from experience. I think I've found that like no matter what level you're at, most times people don't know what they're doing, and it's not because they're not experienced. It's because they're stretching boundaries. Like you can't create good content if you don't stretch boundaries. Stretching boundaries means you're going where people have never gone. Yeah. Which means there's no example to follow.
Yeah.
So
the confidence.
Yeah, it's just like figure out how to do it later. But yeah, like I said, I think I wish I would have been more aware of all of these things, but at the same time, it's good to be oblivious because it would scare a lot of people away.
Yeah, we have an extra, I think, 3 minutes with that.
That actually wraps up that question. So let me reset the camera.
Perfect.
We'll be right back.
Boom. As my boy Drake once said, I'm back and I'm better. I think that was Drake. I could be completely wrong.
It sounds like something he would say. He probably has said that at one point in time.
I'm back and I'm better. I don't. Actually, no, that was Bryson Tiller. I'm sorry. Sorry, Drake. It's Bryson Tiller.
All right. So
next question. What are we talking about?
Let me see here. So I guess I'm going to combine two questions here because I think this is going to be a long answer that we both are going to kind of be able to chime in on because it looks different for both of us. But anyways, so the question is tips on networking with other content creators / brands. And then the second question that I'm combining is how do you book clients? So I think those kind of go, one leads to the other.
I would separate. Let's do
okay.
I would say networking, and then we could talk about clients.
Okay.
So
let's do it.
The first part was networking. What was it?
Tips on networking with other content creators / brands, or for you, networking in general with people that
Let's see. I'd love to hear your take first.
Okay, so networking
in general.
Once again, it just goes down in the DMs.
Yeah.
That's there's no trick at all. Like there was a point in my career where I had never shot a concert, and that's what I wanted to get into. So I set about an hour or two aside a day to fire out 20 emails to managers and artists. And I didn't. Some people use the copy and paste method. I preferred to just type out a custom email to each individual and deliver the value, offer to shoot free, and that booked me like 3 clients, but that also obviously built my network, and I was able to become close to those people. And then DMs, like I said, I just fire out DMs all the time to people, and a lot of times I'm not asking for anything. I just say, hey, I really liked your work, keep it up. Or hey, I saw that you just did this, I love it. If there's ever anything I can help you with or be of value, would love to connect. So long story short, that's been networking. And then obviously since being in LA for 2 weeks, like networking has just been like any chance I get, anytime I get invited to anything, I go and I try to talk to every single person there. Every time I cross paths with someone, if it's even someone who I don't know or, whatever, I always make a point to say hi, shake their hand, ask them a little bit about themselves, move on. So yeah, I think it's like just all about reaching out, putting yourself out there, because I found that no one's going to come to you and, knock on your door with these crazy opportunities or a network of people that you'd love to be a part of.
I think as a creator, you have to assess, and I mean, I know you're definitely naturally good at it, and I feel I'm pretty good at it, but I know there's probably somebody out there that doesn't understand it. But like, you have to assess that person you're trying to network is who has the leverage between you two. And it's not saying who's better than the other, but somebody that has more credibility or has a lot more opportunities that could possibly benefit you, then they have the leverage. So I think in that case, if you're trying to network with a creator or somebody in that sense, it's like what you said, reaching out, offering to do work for free, getting your foot in the door, that's going to pay dividends in the long run. And that's how, I mean, I didn't realize it when I was starting this podcast, but I literally created the ultimate networking tool because it was me essentially reaching out to people saying, hey, I really respect and love what you do. Would love to have you on my podcast, talk about your story and your passion. And everybody loves talking about themselves. So it was like a win-win. But I think if you're just trying to network with a fellow videographer or fellow podcaster. I think you just have to be super genuine and not feel, you can't just be like stepping on people's toes trying to like be too obvious and like you just want to network with them because you want to get something out of them. That's the thing. I don't like just randomly go grab coffee with people. Like there has to be some type of pre-conversation that if we're going to meet, there's a reason to it. We know what we're both there to do. A lot of that can be done in Instagram. Mm-hmm. Literally almost all the guests that I get on the show are from just sending Hail Mary DMs. And even to the people that I didn't think would respond, they have responded. So I feel like that is a great platform, just reaching out to people. And I think showing love and support to what people do goes a long way. If you just consistently like show them love, don't do it over the top. People recognize and they see certain names consistently like, oh, this guy keeps showing love. He keeps showing love. He's not asking for anything in return. I think the real key to networking is get people's eyes on you, but don't ask for any favors and just hustle and do what you got to do and try to give as much value as you possibly can, because people take note of that. Like, oh, that's the guy that keeps hustling. He's not asking for any favors. He just does what he has to do. Or does what he has to do, whatever. I just said that wrong. But at least that's my take on networking. I got so lucky because I'm a people's person and I essentially created a platform to meet people.
Right.
So I'm able to get people in, and by the time they leave, we've escalated that relationship. What would take normally maybe 5 or 6 meeting times, I'm able to just lock them in a room, put down the phones, no distractions, let's just talk. But you can also do that in Instagram DM because you have that going back and forth where I don't really see a benefit of like, some people might go to like a club in LA or an event to network. And yeah, you can get some networking done there, but it's really hard to really build something in that moment. I don't think you ever are going to get the opportunity of a lifetime because you're at that party. Maybe you will, but I think it's more of that communication line through emailing or DMing.
Yep. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that people read their DMs. Like 9 times out of 10, even if you don't get a response, like
they'll see it.
Yeah. Because like I know that I see this a lot with like, this is kind of not the same thing, but like people commenting negative comments on stuff like that are just ridiculous because they don't think famous people see it.
Yeah.
Like, people read their comments and DMs. So like, don't ever get discouraged if you don't get a like response. Like, just know that they're reading it. Keep that in mind whenever sending out messages. You know what I mean?
You have to keep just going for it.
Yep.
I recently, like when I was writing those playbooks, I look at it as, even with emailing, sometimes we feel like, oh, I sent them the email, I never heard back. Treat it as if that person saw your DM or your email as they were stepping on a plane and were like, okay, I got to get back to this. Got on the plane, didn't have Wi-Fi, landed in wherever that city was, and just kept going on with their life because something happened. So yeah, you have to continue to follow up with people, but give people time. Following up with someone 2 or 3 days after is not ideal. Like, you don't want to do that. It's aggressive. Literally after this podcast, I'm going to follow up with somebody in a text message from something that was a conversation a week ago today. Okay. So it's like, you should at least give people some time to breathe because people are busy. People have lives.
Totally.
But yeah, don't, kind of going off of what you're saying of like, people are watching, or, you know, if they didn't respond, like, keep staying consistent, keep trying to get your name out there, and people take notice of that.
Totally.
Brett, what about the deals? You could probably talk about that. I can't.
Yeah. So I guess booking clients, it's like,
that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, that's a loaded question, but
how did you get your first client? How about that? I think that's really important. How did you get your first paid gig?
So, as a freelancer, my first paid gig was actually with my boy John.
Nice.
So quickly, John, for anyone who doesn't know, John runs a creative agency in Chicago. He's a business partner. They're a small startup, crushing it. They have an office downtown. Super sick guy. And he's actually pretty young. He's like 24, 25. 25 or 26, I think.
Yeah, I think he's 26.
So anyways, he's crushing it. So I got connected to him through a friend of a friend, and he needed help on a shoot. So it was in Chicago. I drove 3 hours, and I booked my own hotel. You know, like,
roll the dice.
Yeah, like, I was just like, you know what, like, this is worth it. And so yeah, I got paid to come shoot a promotional video for a bar that was going to be used as advertising on Facebook, because that's the other part of his business, is running Facebook ads for people. So it was super fun, and it was also ironic because the camera that we're shooting this with is my first camera, like professional camera I bought for myself after I quit my job, and I didn't even know how to use it on that shoot, but like we figured it out, it worked, and the video turned out great, and we vibed, and so yeah, that was my first paid gig, and then that obviously led to more work with him. I've been working with him for like a full year now, really, like contracted out. And then yeah, that just like kind of gave me confidence, and like also gave me a portfolio to send to other people and be like, hey, I created this. Here's my, you know, kind of the range that I cost, and, you know, would love to make something work for you. So I was very lucky that like John did a lot of the booking, and would just kind of like hit me up with work. Like he's heaven sent. Like it was super awesome. But I guess I had booked a few on my own, and that was really just emails, reaching. I started local with like local businesses that either my parents had some sort of connection to them, or, you know, whatever. Started there, and then like oftentimes it's really just word of mouth. That was what I found, or like someone sees your video as an ad on Facebook, and you know, will hit me up, and we'll go, you know, shoot a video. But it's like very unique. Each situation is unique. There's never like, I don't have a system down. I'm still learning and growing in that area of like booking clients. But I mean, it's very simple. Like the points you made about networking is very similar to how you book clients. Like provide value, don't overstep your boundaries, don't get in their face too much. Just show them how you can bring the value. And if they say no, like, you know, it's not don't take it personally. They just don't need that right now. So
I mean, I've essentially gone through the same process for booking podcast guests, right? Like I wasn't able to get the big dramas, the Rory Kramers, the Jeremiah Davis, like Comos, like those type of guys off the rip. I had to just utilize the network of friends around me to build something, and then use that as a leverage to have proof of proof of concept. Like, this is what I'm capable of creating. This is what I'm doing. Do you want to be part of it? So it's the same thing where you got to utilize what podcasting, YouTube, content creators, I don't care what it is that you want to do. I think when you start something, utilize all the resources around you to build something, then use whatever you build to leverage and show people, I have a proof of concept. This is what I have to offer. And then that's when you start reaching out and sending the Hail Mary DMs. And obviously the whole pricing thing is a whole nother conversation. But then with time, you grow the confidence, and you'll get more clients hitting you up, and then you charge more because you only have so much hours in a day. So I think the key takeaway is looking around and just trying to make best of where you are. Do work for free to build a name for yourself. And then when you feel confident and you have enough people hitting you up, then that's when you say, okay, I charge X amount of dollars. I mean, that would make the most sense to me. But I think the key for both of us is just utilizing what we have around us to then build something bigger.
I also got lucky. This goes back to networking. The first show I ever shot was for, I've shot other shows, but they're for, so a lot of times it works like you can get a photo pass through the venue, and that's used for press for them, whatever that looks like. But the first show that I ever actually shot, and I had direct contact with the artist, and I was making a video for them that would live on their social media, was Time Flies. And this is it's super funny just because that was the first show ever. And then their manager, Luke, is someone that I am super close to, and we talk every single day now. And so I was very fortunate that I developed a great relationship with Cal and Rez and Luke. We've stayed in touch. That was exactly a year ago, actually, or more than a year ago now. And we've stayed in touch. And Luke then has kind of stepped into a role of helping book me clients. And I've been on 2 tours. That was both through Luke. There's been a lot of like music gigs that have been through him. And so I was, again, fortunate to surround myself with someone who saw value in me and saw how we could benefit each other. And he already had a huge network. He's been in the business for a long time, had a great network that I was able to tap into because of him. So I think it's important, whatever that looks like for you. Just like John was another person who has a network that I was able to tap into because of him. It's important to find people, I think, that you can both mutually benefit each other, and maybe that person though has that network or has an in that you can benefit from. And that helps book clients.
Yeah, you take and pull, give a little bit of value and get something out of it.
Yep. Let's see here.
Shout out to our rooster in the background going hammer time right now. We out here in the sticks,
I didn't realize that roosters like. I didn't realize that was a thing that happened all day. Like I expected like a wake up call.
We don't even live in LA. We're in Mexico right now.
Yeah, no, that's true.
That's crazy.
That's true. It's quiet. Well, it's quiet, but also not really. You got the rooster crowing all day.
Yeah, he's going crazy.
Anyways, so this is a question from my fellow friend Dean.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think motivational / entrepreneurial content is becoming oversaturated? And I know what he means by this because I think he's talking about two separate kinds of content. He's talking about content like Gary Vee, where it's like in your face, a lot of that content, like motivational, entrepreneurial content. He's also talking about the travel content that a lot of creators, and I am more than guilty myself.
So how about I'll talk about the Gary Vee and then you can talk about...
That's completely fine, yeah.
You talk about that. So this is my whole thing with the whole motivational self-help type content. I'm so for it so long as the person who's doing it is authentically creating and telling their story. I think the biggest shift that I've noticed in dancing in this whole self-help type world and motivation is that I can't scream and tell people how to live their life. I can only show people how I decide to live mine through the lessons and through the content that I create. I try my best to always just teach people about what I've been learning and what's the steps that they can take, right? So that here's the lesson I learned, here's the action. Here's the lesson I learned, here's the action. I think there are stuff on social media of people that you can see right through it. It's complete bullshit. But honestly, I would rather see more people putting out motivational, more positivity than negativity. So if there's too much of it, what do you expect? You want people to start talking shit? You want people to start creating content that's not good? Like, yeah, it's saturated. There's a lot of people creating it. That's a good thing. And that's also maybe a good thing for you, Dean, if you're following those types of people. That means that you're consuming content that is supposed to be uplifting, that is supposed to be motivational. That means you're following specific accounts because you are interested or you want that extra little push, which I think is great. Mm-hmm. I'm big on being very like recognizing and aware of what you consume on social media. So, is it oversaturated? I don't necessarily think so. I just think what's super important is that if people are going to create that type of content, I just hope that it is their truth. It is their story. And that's why sometimes I laugh. I'm like, yeah, I complain about this whole Uber grind. I complain about like wanting to move on to the next thing, but at least I have a story. Like that is the story. You know what I mean? Like if I was just making a living off this right now, right off the rip, it would be great. Like cool. Like I'm a podcaster, but when this chapter flips, I drove Uber for 3 years full time to pay it. Like that's always part of my story. So it gives me the credibility of like, I went through some shit. I put my head down. I did what I had to do to get it. I earned it. So it just comes down to, I think, the authenticity of it. But do I ever think there's too much of it? No. I think there's always more room for positivity. And the more people can spread that message and that energy, I mean, that's what I'm all about. I don't want to be around people that aren't pushing that type of energy. And I think that's what majority of the 130 guests are. Artists, DJs, producers, entrepreneurs, vloggers, all different backgrounds, but they're all still trying to push the boundaries of becoming a greater self.
Yeah, totally. I agree 100%. And like it can't be saturated if each piece of content is specific to that person's story.
You also got to realize not everybody's a content creator.
Right.
So like, yeah, there's X amount of people you're following online, but there's only one Jay Shetty of the world. There's only one Lewis Howes of the world. Yeah. And yeah, these are the kingpins, the Gary V's, the Tony Robbins, like these are the kingpins, but there's a lot of people that aren't creating content.
Right.
So it's not a saturated market. There's plenty of room.
Yeah.
I think that I got to check the statistics, but like last year there was only like 500,000 registered podcasts. Put that into perspective.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So it's like, that's another realm of like, wow, there's a lot of room for opportunity. I think that's significantly grown since.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure last year there was only like 500,000 registered. Think about that number
nuts.
in comparison to like content visual
And that
creators.
doesn't even mean those people are posting weekly.
I'm
or,
talking.
You know what I mean?
Talking
Yeah.
from the biggest podcast in
Yeah.
the world to
Someone
Joe
who's made-
Schmo
yeah.
in Indiana,
Yeah.
like recording a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
there's a lot of Joe Schmoes
travel.
in Indiana.
Let's hear travel though. And I wasn't directly shooting Indiana. As soon as I said the word Indiana, I was like, I just like literally punched Dalton in the face because he's from Indiana.
It's okay. So yeah, I think Dean and I have conversations about the travel content a lot, and my take on it is it's one of the first videos I ever made. First few videos I ever made were based around traveling and just cool. That's just a cool video.
Yeah.
And it was super fun to make. One thing I think there's benefits to it, and there's obvious things that are negative. The benefits are it forced me to travel. It forced me to even like drive in my state. I drove like 5 hours one morning to this park that I found online, and it was beautiful. Never would have known it was in Indiana ever. Like super cool. Got to have fun experiences that way. So it forced me to go out and do. I've never been like a traveler really, even though I travel a lot. So they got me, out of the door doing things I wouldn't normally do. Another benefit is it's got me started creating. Like I quickly, grew, I guess, because I was making these videos. And I think one thing to take away is obviously everyone who is in my era who is getting into film was most likely inspired by Sam Colder, Rory Kramer, Jeremiah, Matt Como. These are like, the staples of our time. And this little like micro influencer video, creator industry. And so one thing that I like and one thing that has also hurt me is I tried to copy them starting out. Just straight up, like that's what I tried to do. But what was good about that is it helped me. I learned a lot while trying to copy them. And
you need an example
exactly,
to learn.
Right. And so then though, quickly I got to a point where I realized, okay, like I'm just copying them, and if I really want to take off and make this a career and make a name for myself, I got to be original.
You have to be the Dalton. You don't have to be the next Matt Como.
So
you're always going to be second.
That's where it hurt me is like I've spent the last year trying to kind of like unlearn a lot of things that I had learned, I guess, and taught myself. So and then I've kind of like focused on really learning like some basic fundamentals of filmmaking, cinematography, like all these things that I kind of just skipped over and didn't think about when I was starting out. But so those were the benefits. That was really good. But I do think that, at a certain point I started asking myself, like, when I would make a video, I would watch it at the end. I'd be like, what's the point? Like, can I write down one sentence that is the point of this video? And the answer was usually no. It was just was a montage of traveling. And at a certain point I got I just felt unfulfilled of basically posting content that was like, look at me, Yeah. And that wasn't ever my goal. I'm not like that, but it just became that because I saw what others were doing and I liked the videos and they were cool. They really were. They looked cool. So I think, like I said, the last year of my life, I have really kind of shifted my mental state and been able to answer the question why at the end of every video.
That's it.
Yeah. And that also is going to force you to create some sort of story, even if it sucks. And if it's like a very small story, I always try to create a story in my videos now, because at the end of it, I can say, this is why this video is created, because of this small story in the video. And, so yeah, I think that the travel content is definitely at a point where there's a lot of people posting videos that they made of them traveling to Bali. And it's just like, it looks, these people are very talented. It looks great. But I think if you can't answer what's the point at the end of it, it's not doing anything for anyone. So, and I think we're also quickly in an age where there's billions of people, or a billion people on Instagram. Is that right? A billion? I think they just hit a billion. Yeah, like last year.
No way.
I'm serious. Yeah.
No way. We'll double
there's
check.
There's like 7 or 8 billion people in the world.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a billion on Instagram.
Do a quick fact check while I'm talking. So, but I think that we're in an age where people are sick of seeing
76 million, bro.
Are you serious?
77.6 million.
Okay, then I completely take back what I
billion,
said. Where did I get that number from?
I don't know.
I think I was fed
a Facebook. I think Facebook's at. I think
it might even be a combined
Wow, Facebook's at 2.3 billion.
Yeah. Okay. So
anyway,
I wasn't completely wrong. That's where I got that
number
from. I'm sorry. So, anyways, I think that people are kind of over feeling bad when they look at content and they're like, wow, their lives are so cool. This kid's 20 and he gets to travel the world and make videos. How is he making money? How is he surviving? How does he have this great life and I don't? And so I think I've found that there's a lot of value in being able to answer what's the point, and also like shift that so that people can pull something from it that helps them. It's not like me showing them my life and how cool it is. It's like me telling a story that they can take some, benefits from and apply that to their own lives and feel better about themselves. Not like my life is so much cooler than theirs. So yes, I think that is saturated, and I think that content does nothing anymore. Sam Colder was obviously the king of it. Like in 2016 or whatever, he posted that My Year video. That was like the first video that I remember watching, and I was like, what is this? This is magic. Like I was completely confused. Yeah. Super cool. And then, that was cool, but like, it's just over, I think. And people, like you said, like that authenticity, like to be able to, people, they like seeing people tell their own story and then give, hey, here, this is what I went through. This is what my advice would be, but it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. Yeah. So that's my take on that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that type of content. Once again, agreeing with you, I think it's about the why, the intent, the message that you're portraying. Are you showing people that you're on a private jet to the helicopter to then like sitting on the pool drinking margaritas? Like that is a little bit different than like these crazy like running through the woods and like that type of shit gives people hope, man. And, like I've never traveled to a lot of places in this world, but I've lived through the Comos and the Colders and
totally.
Like I've lived through their content of like, this gives me inspiration. Like how beautiful is this world? So I love seeing people create that type of content, but it's just, you can tell based on the edit and based on like their branding of like, what are they doing? Are they trying to paint this like I'm a badass, I live a cool ass life, or are they really trying to like create something that's uplifting? Mitchell Mullins, another great example, young upcomer video guy who's crushing it, and his branding is so on point. We gotta hold on 1 second. I think we have 2 minutes. Okay. His brand, I just want to say this thing. His branding is so on point, but his intent is there. So it's like, he's another, you could box him as another travel video guy, but his intent, his messaging, I mean, his work's incredible, but it's all about, what are you trying to get people? And I think through people like him, they want people to feel a certain way. And I think it's for the right reasons.
Amazing.
All right, let's fix the camera. Yep.
I also
baby, we back.
I want to be clear to that. Matt Como, Sam Colder, Rory Kramer, those guys, Jeremiah, they are not a case of making pointless content. The reason I found later that I liked their content is because there was stories in it. And like Jeremiah is a classic example of like, he skydives all the time and is able to create like powerful content behind that and around it and tell a story. Like it's not just him jumping out of a plane or whatever just because he thinks it's cool. Like he oftentimes there's a purpose, there's a story. It's for a brand that brand is telling a story through that. Like I think they're very good at that. Like so it was cool that I guess it taught me like, oh, at first I thought it was just they were amazing editors, but then I found out that the reason I really liked their content was because there were stories behind it. So they're amazing storytellers, and like you said, that content can be super inspiring.
At the end of the day, aside from content and everything, if you ask why somebody does what they do, you're going to be able to figure out if they're doing it for the right reasons. So exactly. If you can figure out why somebody's doing what they're doing, it's going to make all the difference. And it's also you're going to understand if they're in it for the right reasons and is there a chance that they're going to be able to do this in the long play? Because if it's for the wrong reasons, they're going to give up. They're going to burn out. They're not going to have that passion. And that's my why is literally what fuels me to keep going. Exactly. And that's what gives me that discipline and helps me stay focused is I know exactly what I'm creating for the right 100%. Reasons.
Love it. All right. So I have a question here for you. How do you not get burnout? Especially because I want to be clear, this dude has the same schedule almost every single day. Like he said, he wakes up at 6. Yeah. I feel like I'm in the military. I feel like I'm a drill
you're
sergeant.
At boot camp.
Yeah, I'm at boot camp.
Fucking content boot camp.
So yeah, I want to be very clear that you of all people would probably have every reason in the world to be burnt out and feel tired and uninspired because of the same schedule for through 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like when I was living in Boston for that first year, there was this whole like trying to figure it out, the whole morning routine, and I also too, when I was living in Boston for most of that first 8 or 9 months, I was only just doing the podcast, no audio or no visual, just audio. So I laugh looking back now of like, I had so much free time. So I was driving a lot more. I think now, and I did have a burnout back in the beginning of the year, back in January, which was like, it was like I got back from Christmas. So you figure like I shut it down for like a week, and then I get back and I put my foot to the gas pedal, and within like a week I burnt out, broke down crying, the whole shebang. And then I was super nervous coming back from this recent vacation. I went out with my parents and my sister. I went to South Carolina. We went on a cruise to celebrate my parents' 30th anniversary. And honestly, like flying out from LA, actually I was texting you. Yeah, I was texting you that day. You had hit me up about coming out here for the month. The one thing that was in the back of my mind was like, I was nervous for coming back because I was like, I don't want to have that burnout again. And not burnout. I don't want to have that breakdown of going from 0 to 100 again. All that to say, I think the reason I don't burn out is because of that morning routine. Mm-hmm. I really think the whole priming of the day is what keeps me going. And so meditation is another thing I forgot to add. When I'm in the sauna, I'm usually meditating for like 10, 15 minutes of it. And that is just allowing me to just be at ease. And honestly, throughout the day, there's times where I just like stop and I just breathe and I just focus and I just like reset. And I've grown to just fall in love with like being in the moment and realizing that things are going to take time, that there's nothing that I'm going to be able to do today that's going to change my life. And tomorrow is just going to be like this huge magic kingdom of Bobby and the Bearded Man. Like it all takes time. And so I've been very fortunate to just learn all these lessons from talking to these guests. So there's so many things that I just try to make sure that I'm in check with. Of if I feel like a burnout's coming, I stop. I relax. Every Sunday night, I usually try to shut it down. Or I don't know. When you have a real purpose as to what you want to do, you just do it. You don't think about it too much. And you find little hacks and ways to make sure that you're mentally there, you're physically there, you're feeding your body the right foods. Like I'm very healthy too with like what I consume. So I don't know. It's I've had my ups and downs. Every day's a battle in the sense of like pushing myself to keep going. You know, after this podcast, I'll make lunch and then I'll go drive Uber. And it's like, I wish I could just spend the rest of the day just creating, but I'm not at that point yet. So, you know, everyone's different. You have to just understand like what are your wants and needs, as we talked about earlier, but then also with time, you're able to get more things done in a day because you're warming up. You're starting to figure out what works, what doesn't work for you. And I don't know. I definitely think it's important to find that balance. Do I have a great balance? Probably not so much, but I also don't have really another option just yet. Like I have to put at least 40 hours on the streets to pay the bills. And then I have so many ideas to create. Yeah. It's like, that's the thing. When I'm creating and I'm like in this whole process, I'm not thinking about time. Right. So it's like, I could do this shit all day long, you know? Like time is of the essence to me when I'm creating and I'm, you know, shooting podcasts, or when we go to do this What They Don't See on Friday, like that, man, time just like flies because I'm like, this is bliss. So, I mean, that's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah.
I'd be curious for you.
I don't think I'm a good person to ask because I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
I've been through, I think.
You're also 20, I'm 25.
Yeah.
Like we're in completely like, you're in a really good headspace for being somebody that's 20, but at 25, I was nowhere near.
I know what you mean. There definitely, there's just wisdom that comes with years and experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think the quick answer is I'm not a crier, and I'm an emotional person, but I'm not a crier ever. Mm-hmm. The only thing that's made me cry in the past 2 years has been my career. Like, I've never had anxiety until the last 2 years. Yeah. I've had crazy anxiety. Like, I've just never been that
even
kind of a
person. Even for soccer, you weren't getting anxiety
never.
For games?
Nope, never. No. I even wrestled, which I want to point out is very hard because you are literally, it is you versus one other person, and you have to physically dominate that person on display for everyone else. And I can't blame my teammates if I lose.
Yeah. I
can't blame anyone else if I, get my ass kicked out there.
There's a lot of pressure on that.
Yeah, and there should be anxiety, but I didn't have any there. And I've been full of anxiety for the past 2 years. And that, like I said, I think that just comes from, I often say, like, when I'm trying to talk things through with, like, family and friends, it's like, I think it just comes from, like, I have had to grow since dropping out of college, like, tremendously.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm almost, like, 30 in my head just because I've had to, like, put myself in that space. So I think that there's a lot of my breakdowns come from that. But, yeah, like you said, it's all about balance. Like, being out here has helped, like, the mornings, getting up with you and working out and, like, I like healthy food, so that's never been a problem. But, like, Jack's Pizza here.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't. Jack's Pizza.
But, like, that's been good for me. But it's all about balance. I think, like, taking, like you said, taking, like, at least one day off and, like, really just taking that day for yourself is huge. But it's also hard because it's like sometimes we have it's either don't get the job done or just suck it up and get through it. And I was just in a position like last week where I had like 4 videos to edit in 1 week, and it was just unreal. And I didn't, sleep well, all that stuff. So I'm still figuring it out. But like you said, it's like I love what I do. I have an end goal, at least in the next 5 years, that pushes me every single day. And it's also like super inspiring when you meet, I'm in rooms with people that like I never would have dreamt of a year ago. And it's just like that keeps me going too. It's like, even if I'm not seeing immediate like financial success right now, and like things are difficult, like to figure it out, but also it's like that is inspiring. And it's like I'm in the rooms with the right people doing the right things. It's going to happen soon. So like, that's I guess what keeps me going. And also it's super important to have like positive people in your life. I've like definitely gotten rid of any negative people in my life, and my circle is super tight and awesome. I love every single person that I talk to. Yeah. And they're all super supportive, build me up, and if they're a phone call away. If I call, they pick it up, I can talk to them about anything. So that's been key. It's like my parents are awesome, and just like all my friends around me have been amazing. So
yeah. I lastly just want to say I think the key is that you have to be real with yourself. And if you feel like you need a break, then take the break. Once again, nothing is going to change in this moment tomorrow. As long as you're consistently working on a craft, it is going to get better. But I think you just have to be real with yourself. Like if you're feeling like you're getting overwhelmed and anxious, stop what you're doing. Because if you keep working, it's just going to the actual work quality is going to be shit. And it's going to take you 4 hours to do something that would probably take you an hour on a normal day. So don't be afraid to stop and step away and decompress and get inspired from other things, and maybe that'll pick you back up. But nothing, it's all a long game. And so if you feel like you're getting anxious or overworked, then just stop. Like, everything's going to be fine.
We talked about that a lot since being here. It's like we both have hit points at like 10 or 9 or 10 p.m. where we're just like, dude, I should finish this, but I'm brain fried and I can't, and I'm not, like you said, you're just like your quality of work isn't there. Yeah. You're better off waking up at 5 a.m. and getting it done. Yeah.
Savage. So 5 a.m. minute.
Yeah. 5 a.m. Yeah. Whatever it takes. But so we have 2 more questions here.
Beautiful.
One of them's quick. I'll answer this one quickly. This is just about video stuff. So what's a good lens and camera to start off with? I made a video about everything that's in my camera bag, which I think is good to watch. I can like link that or whatever.
You just want to plug yourself. You just want to plug
I need to get my watch time up so I can start
follow
monetizing
on Instagram
my videos.
too.
But no, so that's good. Like that, I think that, like I said, I have a professional setup, but it's very like it's minimum. It's like what basically is the minimum of a professional setup. So I recommend that if you have the money. But it's cliche, but like anything, like you film your stuff on a GoPro, which I didn't even know. And I make videos. Yeah. It's like, it's fine. Also, iPhones are all 4K now. Like,
so I shoot some of my vlogs on my iPhone.
Dude, and
that's a whole nother conversation of like quality, and it's just about the message. If you're putting out something that's powerful, or that if you have the right intent, make use of what you've got until you can afford that lens or camera gear. But it should never, I don't think not having the right equipment should never stop you from actually creating or doing the thing you actually want to do.
And it's all perspective. Like the camera we're shooting this on right now is obviously like great quality for what we're doing, but I want to give a quick shout out. So I worked with the artist Somo on a music video. It's the one and only music video I've ever shot and edited. And one thing that I really respected was that he knew exactly my setup. And like, I have a Sony a6500, which for video people, that's like, it's a good camera, but like to shoot a music video for a big artist like him with 1.6 million subscribers on YouTube and stuff like that, it's not the standard at all.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. Like he told me, he's like, I don't care. Like, he's like, I've been like, when I signed my record deal, I've been on those shoots with 50K budgets with Reds, and he's like, they look amazing, but he's like, he's like, you don't need that stuff. Like we can get the job done. And we literally, shot it like in the backyard of, I think it was his mom's house. And
amazing.
Yeah, like we just got the job done, dude. And it was awesome. Like he was super happy. I was super happy with it. And it's funny too, like none of the YouTube no one mentioned quality once. Like no one was like, oh, like, yeah. So that was super cool. And I just like really respected that. And it gave me a huge confidence boost and like proves that, you can get the job done with your resources.
We're literally using my the bedroom studio to shoot a podcast. Right here. So it's not always about having the best stuff.
Of course that helps. And if you can, I recommend doing the best you can. But like,
just get started.
Don't use that as an excuse to not do something.
I agree.
So yeah, that was the quick one. And then this one, I'm interested to hear what you had to say, because I don't know.
The last question right here?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know the answer to this. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
Yeah, so I think I'm a big believer of like, you kind of have to have some sense of direction of what you're working towards, right? But you should never, ever dig yourself into a hole and stress yourself because you don't know where you want to be in 10 years. Mm-hmm. Like that's just the dumbest thing you could ever do, because 3 years ago, I'm about to say where I want to see myself in 10 years ago. But 3 years ago when I was starting this podcast, I never would have said any of these things. Maybe I would have been like, had the idea or been interested, but like 10 years from now, like full-time content creator, pumping out content every single day from solo podcasts to group podcasts to, inside look at like creative spaces type Netflix content, maybe running like a full production team and helping brands tell their stories through meaningful content. We talked about, it's like there's a bunch of content creators in this world offering amazing content, telling the story of the product, which is great, needed. I don't really see too many people focusing on the story of the founders, of the people behind the scenes. I'd love to be the guy to help tell those stories. So I think that'd be cool to maybe start a production company. I don't know. The future excites me because there's just so many different ideas that are brewing in my head that I'm not necessarily stuck on one path. I just need to keep creating content and seeing where it takes me and what pulls me in one direction, what pulls me in another. Because, if I'm being real, I'm not going to sit here and say that Purpose in the Youth podcast is going to be where I'm at in 10 years from now. But it for sure has been a huge stepping stone. And if that stepping stone goes another 2 years, great. If it goes 5, awesome. If it goes the full 10, holy shit, that's amazing. But the whole thing is like, you got to, I had a podcast with Futuristic. He's a hip hop, pop, R&B artist. But one thing we talked about was you don't want to be so narrow on one idea that you miss a bigger opportunity. So for me, it's definitely going to be in this whole entertainment world, creating content, documenting stories and people and brands maybe one day. But how does that look in 10 years? I don't know. Yeah. And I don't even stress about it. I'm more focused on like, where do I see myself 6 to 12 months from now? What is realistic? But I do love the idea of dreaming big. I want to be on Netflix. Yep. I want to be on YouTube. I want to be on HBO. I want to be on all these major platforms. And it's super realistic with time of keep creating and seeing where the road takes me. But, I don't really know. And I think it's not a bad thing either if you don't know where you want to be in 10 years.
Yeah, that's my answer. I don't know at all. I don't
What's
even
the
know.
direction though? What do you...
I like same as you. I obviously like I've been able to make a living being a freelance content creator, which was my number one goal. And I think that I just don't know what it's gonna look like. Like I don't know what I like what I'm doing. I don't know
if money was wiped out right now and that wasn't a problem, what's the type of content you're gonna be creating every day right now? You can work with anybody in the world. Money's not an issue. You just have to wake up and create. What do you want to be creating?
I think it's a combination of. I've actually gotten super passionate about brands and anyone who's trying to make a difference. So like right now, something I would love to do is be a part of like all these cleanups that are happening around like in oceans and stuff like that. Like I would love, because they're truly like just trying to help and like do what they can, and I would love to be able to tell that in a cool way that looks awesome and is like engaging. So I think as long as I'm telling stories and obviously improving, I just want to always improve myself, improve my content, and just help tell real, like authentic stories that are truly going to have an impact on people in the world. So
it gives you, that's all you need though. You just need some idea of like, okay, I like working with brands. I want to create content that like has true impact. Where am I going to be in 10 years? I have no idea, but I'm going to keep dancing this line of trying to work towards both of those. And obviously in the early years, you got to hustle. So you got to take whatever opportunities come across your lap, what you have been doing. So it's just a mix of continuing to do those jobs until you get to a point where there's so much desire and interest in you that you now get to pick and choose what opportunities you want to take on. And then you get to a point where it's like, I'm just only going to focus on the two things, either brands I want to work with or which I think is super dope, is like creating content for, I would just say, organizations that have a greater purpose, that are helping this world in a bigger way. So it's good to have some sense of direction as to what you want, but you gotta look at this as an adventure of trying to figure out you know what? Pull this quote from yesterday's IG post. The great Steve Jobs, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. I love that quote because I can only tell you how I got to this podcast today because I graduated college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I can't tell you exactly where I'm going to be 3 years from now. Not at all. I have no idea where I'm going to be. And in 3 years, I'll be able to tell you, well, I'm here because I did this, and this. So he said a lot, and I think it's really important to dream so big that it feels impossible to reach, but don't get stressed out not having a plan as to how you're going to get there, because going back on everything we've talked about, from the discipline, from not burning out, all these things we talked about today, I know my why, and that's what keeps me going. Like my why inside is what's going to keep me going. It's probably what keeps you going. So I don't, my 10 years, we'll see, but I think for a lot of people, they get overwhelmed thinking about that when it's like, don't waste your time and don't think about it.
Right. And it's important, like there's access to so many amazing podcasts now or books that like people are telling you, these are the core values that you can do every day.
Yeah.
And the things you can wake up and have a checklist of things you need to do. And like, trust me, these will get you to what, whatever your like purpose is or whatever your goal is. Like, so I think it's cool that like, you don't have to necessarily know, like when you wake up and you're like doing these things, your morning routine, it's not because you're like, this specific thing is going to get me to a Netflix show. It's because you know that no matter what it is, whether it's Netflix or whatever that is, this is going to get you there. Like this is just what it takes to get there. So
I'm just trying to create my own opportunities that are going to hopefully get me closer to that, in that direction. Closing statement, anything? I feel like that was fun. That was dope.
That was
crushed
fun.
it.
Yeah, those were good questions that prompted good conversation.
Dope.
So,
well, I hope people enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys drop a bunch of Bearded Man emojis on Dalton's Instagram.
That's all I ask. Yeah.
Just cause.
Yeah.
Just whatever reason. Just he knows that the Bearded Man sent you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Dalton. That was some high quality content.
Yeah.
Let's get back to it.
All right.
See you guys next time.
Peace.
See ya.